Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Orduna. This is my mom, Gina.
He is the journalist.
She's the enthusiast.
What is there not to be enthusiastic about? I'm getting my voice back, and it's college football time.
Yes. College football is now finally among us. Last week was the unofficial kickoff of
it was the appetizer.
Season. Yes. We had we had one top 25 team play last week. That was South Florida. They played San Jose State and came up with a victory. So Charlie Strong is 1-0 as he's the new head coach for South Florida down there in Tampa. So like I said, last week was kind of the unofficial kickoff. They didn't quite have the college game day, but they did have their discussions and did their own predictions. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about all the Power 5 conferences, except for the Big 12. We will leave that for our next episode as we get into more depth.
Because we have a lot to say about that.
We have a lot to say. We've got the Pac-12 that we're talking about first. Then we're going to talk about the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 10. So we're going to break down each side of their conferences, each division, and then kind of give a championship prediction. Not to say who's going to win the conference,
but who do we think will play?
Who we think will be in that championship game.
Cool.
So kind of a lot to get through here. We're finally excited to get to this point in time.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a long summer without football, at least college football, that is. And so let's get right to it. So we're going to talk about the Pac-12, all of the West Coast there. So on the north side of the division or the conference, we've got Stanford, Cal, Oregon, Washington, Washington State, and then Oregon State. Now there are 3 teams within that part of the conference that are ranked in the top 25. That's pretty good.
That is. Well, then on the south, of course, you have Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, UCLA, USC, and Utah. And USC is also ranked, but they're ranked number 4. People have them in their top 4 to start the season.
Yes, they've got a Heisman Trophy contender within their young quarterback there, that Sam Darnold, who's got a lot of potential to win the Heisman. So coming out of both of those divisions for the Pac-12 conference, I think Washington's got a great chance to kind of have a rebound year after they were on that great run and then they got beat by USC.
Right.
So I think Washington's got a great chance to go ahead and come out of the north and out of the south. I see USC definitely taking that top spot there.
Well, you know, there's a lot of teams that need it. UCLA, Jim Mora is on the hot seat.
Yes.
I'm excited for him to go.
Right.
So I hope he loses. I know that's mean because I do like his quarterback, but I hope he's out. So honestly, I can't really disagree with you. I'm not sold on Stanford. People have them at number 14.
Sure.
People have Washington State ranked. I'm not with you. I'm going to agree with you 100%. I think it's going to be Washington coming out of the north and USC coming out of the south.
Correct. And those 3 teams, Washington, USC, and UCLA, all have really good quarterbacks.
Yeah, they do.
So that's going to be fun to watch. All right, let's talk about the SEC.
Oh,
Everyone, at least in the ESPN world, but not just ESPN.
You mean the Alabama EC?
Right, exactly. A lot of people have them being the best conference in college football. I disagree with that.
I would say I don't.
Last couple of years, for the most part, there's been a lot of teams that have kind of fallen off, but some of their lower teams have kind of rose or have risen, I guess I should say. But for the most part, it's Alabama as far as the favorite. Now, out of the East, they got an East and a West division.
Yes, they do.
Out of the East, they've got Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and then Mizzou for the Eastern side of the division there.
Well, and then on the West side, we've, of course, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and then Ole Miss.
Right.
And they have, is it 5, 6 teams ranked?
There's 3 teams in the East, and then there's
3 in the West.
And then, so there's quite a few
they got
teams.
6 teams ranked in the top 25.
And that's pretty good. Preseason wise, if you've got 5 to 6 teams, that means you're doing pretty good.
Well, who's number 1?
Well, it's Alabama, number 1 overall.
Yes.
Of course. Last year was Alabama and Florida that did play in the conference championship game.
Right.
Tennessee finished pretty strong. They beat Nebraska in the bowl game last year. Georgia, they're still kind of getting their feet wet a little bit. I think it's going to be kind of a toss-up. The East is not as strong as the West is, but I would not be surprised to see Florida maybe back in the conference championship game, although they do have some suspensions that they have to go through. So I'm going to just stick with Florida.
And you're sold on Alabama?
And I'm sold on Alabama. And so my thoughts are Alabama and Florida, again, meeting back up in the conference championship.
You know, I'm going to flip the script a little. I'm going to put my money on Georgia.
Okay.
My best friend, full disclosure, her cousin is the starting tight end there.
Yes.
started as a freshman, Blazovic. So I kind of feel a little personal connection, but I've been watching Georgia come up. I know Florida is good.
Yeah.
I can't stand Jim McElwain, so I'm kind of picking with my heart. I also think Mizzou is going to, I'm rooting for them to be good. You know, your sister's a senior.
Well, and that's right. Yeah, Vanderbilt's on the way up.
But for the actual conference championship, I'm going to go Georgia coming out of the East. And on the West, I'm obviously going to pick Alabama, but I think people need to be on the lookout for LSU. I think Ed O has got stuff going on there. There seems to be a new energy there, but I think Bama's just too loaded. So they're going to, I got Georgia, Alabama in that conference championship.
Well, it's going to be, and it could honestly be that as well. So
it'll be fun to watch.
We'll see how it works out there. All right, so let's go to the ACC transition there. They've got the Atlantic and Coastal divisions within their conference. They've got 14 teams. Let's go with Boston College. I'll go with the Atlantic side. Boston College, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, North Carolina State, Syracuse, and then Wake Forest for that side of the division there.
And on the coastal side, you've got Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, UNC, North Carolina, Pitt, Virginia, UVA, and Virginia Tech.
Yes.
And, you know, they've got, what do they have, 4 teams ranked in the top 25?
Yeah, exactly. They are
Clemson, Louisville,
Clemson, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, Miami. And Va-Tech. So they've got 5 teams that are ranked in the top 25 there. And so again, you know, 5 to 6 teams. Now some conferences have 14 teams, some conferences have 10 teams, some have 12 teams. So if you've got almost half of your conference ranked in the top 25,
you're doing
that means your conference is pretty good.
Right.
So coming out of the Atlantic side, Florida State right now, to me, looks like the best team. They've got a lot to kind of prove. I know they didn't quite, you know, finish the way they wanted to last year. Louisville has the returning Heisman Trophy winner, Lamar Jackson, who's an amazing athlete. But I do actually, and obviously you got Clemson as well, but to me, I feel like Florida State is going to be that team. Jimbo is ready to go this year. And then I obviously out of the coastal side, it does look like Miami's going to be pretty good this year. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a Florida State Miami kind of the interstate championship.
That would be a great rivalry. Well, I'm glad to see Virginia Tech back in the ratings.
Yes.
You know, they after Beamer, you know, it's good to see that program coming back to life. I was shocked that Clemson came in at number 5 overall in the top 25 rankings. But everybody felt like after Sean Watson left that they're going to have to do a little rebuilding. I agree with you. I think Florida State I think they are one of the best teams in the country right now. So I'm going to go with Florida State. Louisville, I think Louisville's going to disappoint some people this year, but you know, I don't want to curse them. Then on the other side, I just don't see very much competition for Miami on that side of the draw.
There really isn't.
You know, I know Va-Tech is ranked, but Duke, Georgia Tech, I just, you know, Pitt, I don't see it.
Kind of the weaker side
the coastal side of it,
of that conference.
So I'm agreeing with you. I'm going to go Florida State, Miami, and I'm telling you what, that would be a ticket to have.
Right. It will be a lot of trash talk in that game. So that will be a good one to watch. We'll keep our eye on that conference and see what happens there towards the end of the year. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up with the Big Ten. They also have 14 teams. The way that they used to label their divisions was legends and leaders, and now they just go East and West. So let's talk about the eastern side of the division, or the conference. The Eastern Division, a lot of people are claiming, is one of the best just divisions, or you could even call it their own conference in the country. You got Ohio State, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and then who else we got over there? Rutgers. Okay, so that's kind of what we got going on for that side of the conference.
Well, and then on the West, you got Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Purdue, and Wisconsin. And, you know, they also have 4 teams being ranked in the top 25. Wisconsin at 9, Penn State at 6, Michigan at number 11, and Ohio State number 2 overall in the country. So who do you see coming out of that?
Yeah, so for the most part, out of this conference here, I would like to see Michigan maybe make a push. I've been very adamant about not being a Michigan fan, but I'm very over Ohio State. So you could say I'm kind of picking with my heart a little bit more, or honestly a Penn State. I'm over Ohio State, to be quite honest. I know they do have JT Barrett, and as long as you know, they've got Urban Meyer as the head coach, they're always going to be a contender. But they did not finish strong last year. They got whooped up by Clemson. Was it Clemson last year? So it's one of those situations where To me, I personally am not rooting for Ohio State, so I would like to see a Michigan or Penn State. And then coming from that West Division, obviously they have Wisconsin, but I think it's very wide open. It would be nice to see Nebraska actually take that step, take that plunge, and go ahead and be in the conference championship this year.
Well, I'm going to go with, unfortunately, I have to pick Wisconsin because I don't see anybody tripping them up.
Sure.
And I'd love to pick Penn State, the reigning Big Ten champ, but I'm going to go with Michigan as well.
Yeah.
So I got Michigan, Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship.
Well, that sounds pretty good to me. So this is just all our own predictions and our thoughts as the season
I'm always
is
wrong,
just
so
coming
if you disagree, don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're just coming to the beginning part of everything. So we're going to go and talk about the Big 12 here on our next episode. So tune in for that. We want to say we appreciate your time. We have so much college football and things to be talking about.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It really is. So we just want to say we appreciate your time, folks, and we'll see you again.